Welcome to RegenTribe and the Co.Creating Regenerative Community Workshop Series that we are hosting in Tulum for the next few Fridays until the end of May. Our workshop series is intended to share all of the topics necessary to consider when taking your idea of a community through the planning phase, all of those steps, and sharing it with the world. Our first workshop, Workshop 1, is nurturing your idea to a high-level plan and drawing your first community members. We cover topics like where to find information about communities, defining what you seek and what you want to create, forward-facing material and what things you should share to share your vision effectively, and how to find early tribe members for your community.
Yeah, it was an awesome kickoff to an awesome workshop series. We had badass speakers. It was Mike and Pau from Hapori Cocoa Housing. They shared their brain about the struggles and experiences with having an idea and turning it into a high-level plan and how to attract your early tribe members. You can check the updates that they download on our Regen Catalyzer.
This is their Discord channel. Our Discord is our digital clubhouse. This is where we are connecting all of these talented community creators, service providers, and community members to have conversations and share knowledge, resources, and services. Join our Discord. You can find a link on our Instagram channel at regen.tribe. Without further ado, we bring you Workshop 1, turning your idea to a high-level plan at Paledora. Enjoy. All right, guys. Happy Friday. Hi, Mike and Paul. Thank you for joining us today and our audiovisual journey to share the start of our community Co.Creating workshop series here at Paledora. Thank you, John-Luc, for sharing your vision and your space with us. The intention of this day is to create the space to discuss the topic of regenerative communities and guide people through the topics and concepts that we should be thinking about to create communities. The intention of today specifically is turning your idea into your initial high-level plan. Mike, we met a few months ago here at Manifestival, actually here in Paledora, and your take on creating your community in a scalable and easy to follow way, along with your vision for creating more communities following this project, is like put stars in my eyes, because being a guide that makes it easy for others is the way to create mass adoption for regenerative communities from the way we see it. It's the intention for this workshop. We have friends here that are joining. Maybe turn a little bit. Who are creating plans for land development in the crypto space and integrating that with the creation of the community that will be here in Mexico as well. And the tribe is here. A little bit of everybody. Tommy's in the back. Dallas, I want you to talk to him later. We can talk. Nate's here. And I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves and kick off the intro for your project, guys.
Okay. So my name's Mike. This is Paula. And we're creating Hapori. We have got a presentation, but I believe you were saying that you don't have the big screen up.
It's on the monitor, and everyone's looking at the monitor, so people can see it. And I have you guys on full screen.
Okay. We'll just present this then.
Yeah.
Oh, click.
Yeah. And here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes. It's working.
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect.
Okay.
So the name of our community is Hapori. Hapori means community in Maori, which is the native New Zealand indigenous people. And Mike is from New Zealand. And I'm Kiwi, Mexi-Kiwi myself. And we want to create sustainable, resilient communities, starting here in San Miguel de Allende, Guanajuato, which has been which has received the awards of the best city to live and to travel to in the last, 3-4 years. So it's a very desirable location in the highlands of Mexico.
So we all have experience with modern housing and a lot of the issues with modern housing. So there are a lot of things that are wrong with modern housing that we're looking to overcome with our community. So unsustainable housing, the impacts of climate change and water overexploitation means that a lot of housing, a lot of communities aren't sustainable in the long term. They're not built in an efficient manner, and they don't meet the needs of eco-conscious consumers like ourselves. And the manner in which they're built tends to degrade the ecosystems rather than regenerate them. And indeed, here around San Miguel, we see many communities where they just bulldoze the entire land before they start construction. So they just strip away everything and then build an entirely artificial, unsustainable development on that. One of the key things we look to address ourselves is the unmet social needs. And this can be issues around conflict or lack of support from neighbours, largely due to a lack of communication. Addressing the loneliness epidemic, which was already in full swing before the epidemic came along. And the lack of opportunities that people have to share their personal skills and experience with others. There are a lot of people, especially older people, that have valuable skills and experience, and they have limited opportunities to share those with the younger generations and pass on their knowledge. And of course, an important thing, as we've seen, is resiliency, being self-sufficient for power and for water, having appropriate links to food production, and that can be producing your own food, or having links within the local community to local food producers, local farmers, in reducing that dependency on the fragile supply chains. And as we've seen with the pandemic, a lot of the supply chains that people rely on are quite fragile. So our solution is eco-co-housing. So this is taking eco-villages in co-housing and combining it in the one concept. This isn't a new thing. There are many eco-co-housing villages around the world. Co-housing itself is more focused around the community design and the social elements rather than the environmental elements. But of course, the efficiency that brings also helps with being more ecological. So co-housing came from Denmark. But it's a concept that's existed in local and indigenous cultures for millennia. Where you have private housing around a central common house, which acts as a social hub and provides communal facilities, most notably cooking and social facilities. And there's a lot more words there, but we're going to continue on to the big vision. So our big vision
is to create sustainable, social, and resilient, and also very affordable communities throughout Mexico and the world. And we'll start by creating the pilot project or community here in San Miguel.
So now you can see a couple of the examples of existing co-housing. On the left is a community in the US. I can't remember where it is offhand, but it is a lovely picture and it gives you an idea. You've got the large common house on the left, you've got the communal spaces with beautiful productive gardens, and then the private housing along the right. And in this community, it actually forms a big horseshoe around the co-housing. And the parking for the community is on the back of that common house. So we make the deliberate choice to take cars out of our communities and put them on the side. And in the bottom right, you can see a map of a community in New Zealand, where I'm from, where there is one of the exemplars of co-housing, where they have very efficient, sustainable houses, rainwater collection. You can see on the roofs with the solar water heating systems. The power there is already from renewable sources. New Zealand has a lot of long-term hydro, wind power and solar power, and also geothermal power. And the remaining fossil fuel generation is very rapidly being taken out of use.
Okay, so there's a system in this Hapori system. So as I mentioned before, Hapori is a Maori noun, and it literally means the section of a tribe, a family, a society, a community. And it has community responsibility and support, living in harmony with the land and seasons. And our system consists of first, a values-driven process, analyzing the specific site and local climate to determine suitable building design principles, then deeply engaging with the community members to teach them and apply the principles of communal living, especially nonviolent communication, with an approach in collaborative decision making, and designing and building a sustainable community which meets the specific needs and the desires of that community.
And since we're talking today about how we approach this from the high level and how we develop this sort of thing, I'm going to dive into this a little bit more. So in the case of our pilot community, we started with some workshops. And those workshops were to talk about what a sustainable community meant to people and what a co-housing community meant to people, and looking at the values that the individuals that were attending had related to those, to craft a set of values that we all agreed to as being embodying the concept of what we wanted. So we took those values, we used those values to craft what are the objectives we want to achieve, and then to define the mission of the community. And then that provides us with a document we refer to for making our decisions. And sometimes that enables us to reevaluate our own personal assumptions. So a good example of this is Paula and I, we don't have children. We don't want to have children ourselves. But with the values that we were looking to embody in the community, we realized it was very important that children had a place in the community. And as such, we want to specifically invite some families to join our community, because part of the values that we're espousing and the outreach that we want to do means that children have to be a part of that. So although we ourselves don't want children, we value them, and we want to pass on our knowledge and experience and provide the opportunity for others in the community to do the same. So having those values explicitly communicated enabled us to re-examine our own personal assumptions and find that there's actually a better way forward. And then the rest of the process, there's the analysis that we do. We found a great location. We found some great neighbours that we'll talk about in some more detail. We looked at the local climate and the topography to analyse how do we build best. What are the best practices for construction? What are the efficient ways and the systems that we can interact positively with the environment to sustain ourselves, but also to regenerate the environment? And currently we're going through workshops as well for the communications workshops. Our next workshop is Saturday, the 12th of March. We will once again have a nonviolent communication workshop. Then we'll have a shared comida together, go out to the land, and then we have a permaculture expert who's guiding us on the plants that are native to the environment that we already have there on the land, so we can understand and value what we have and look at how we can help regenerate the environment and work in concert with that. It's probably a bit small for you to read.
No, I can read.
You can read.
Okay, so imagine a day in the life of your life at Hapori. It's like you wake up in your home in a well-built, low-maintenance, and comfortable temperature, both in summer and in winter. And you go to make breakfast, but look out at the kitchen window to the common house, and you see some of your neighbors already there. So you decide to join them for a shared breakfast or a shared copa, and you discuss your days and plans over a delicious breakfast and sign up for the communal meal tomorrow. Shortly after your breakfast, you have a vegetable truck arriving in your parking lot, in your parking area, and you help restock the kitchen for the communal meal. And you wave another neighbor who's planting some new herbs in the shared gardens. And after that, you head down to the co-working space where another neighbor has skipped a shared breakfast to get straight to work. In the afternoon, you take a break by the side of the biopool, enjoying the peace and quiet, watching a pair of the native eagles flying over the valley. Because where we are, there are 3 local eagles, which are just stunning and beautiful to look at. And in the evening, you are reading in the cozy mezzanine of your house when you hear a knock at the door, and your neighbor invites you to join an impromptu gathering at the fire pit. They have their friend visiting, and he's an amazing guitarist. And you finish up the day looking at the stars, surrounded by wonderful people, feeling just all the gratitude and joy for another beautiful day in paradise.
It's your picture. I need to update that. So here is an overview of the planned community. And you can see a lot of the elements here. So Hapori exists within a wider eco-village with about another 30 other properties within the wider community. And then within Hapori, we have 14 households. We have the common house and the palapa in the central area. And you can see when you first arrive in the community, there's the common parking area. So you come in, you park, and then you walk to your house. And of course, we would have carts or trolleys or whatever for bringing your shopping to your house and things like that. But whether you're arriving or leaving, you're kind of passing by the common house, and it gives you those opportunities for interaction with your community and with your neighbours. We have the fire pit there, we have the biopool, which is a more natural form of pool where it uses natural filtration systems using sand and plants to filter the water, so we don't have to chemically treat it. And we have the guest house down in the corner, the guest house and the laundry. So we'll have a look at some of the ecosystems we use, but the laundry down in the bottom corner there, the hub for the water reuse and filtration systems. The guest house is a 4-bedroom unit, which enables members of the community to have friends, family and visitors come and stay without encroaching on their personal space. But also it means you don't need to maintain a dedicated room in your house on the off chance you have visitors. So you can make full use of the house you have, and then you have space for visitors in the guest house. And it also means if you have a lot of visitors, there's enough space to have a lot of visitors that you wouldn't necessarily be able to handle in a traditional home. And you can see in the top left the events and workshop spaces in the gardens on the right.
Hello.
We're back. Okay.
Where did it cut?
Okay, you were just discussing the benefits of a shared visitor house because it's easier to accommodate more people. And you were, I think that's where you left.
Okay.
We did start going into who we are. You do know a bit of who we are already. I've been doing a lot of construction. I have a lot of construction and project management experience. Paula has all of her business experience. We have a variety of other partners who are bringing their own experience. We have a financial advisor who's also an investor, a permaculture expert, a communication trainer, and our community members as well, who each bring their own experience and expertise to the process.
So our goal is to also do a replication of these Hapori communities throughout Mexico and around the world, based on the values and the vision defined by people interested in living in Hapori in these communities. We want to tailor the project to different locations with a specific site and climate analysis, and continued growth using this pilot project as an initial show community also reduces upfront costs. And as we mentioned, our current community is located near San Miguel de Allende within the Águila Ecoresidencial as a proof of concept. We are in the process of acquiring the land, and we have planned 14 private homes, and we already have 4 households confirmed and 3 more tentative. And for the next communities, we want to go 50% larger with approximately 20 to 25 households for an optimal co-housing size of 2.5 and 3 hectares. And our current funding goal, we are seeking to raise $2.2 million to complete the pilot community and secure land for the next 2 communities. And our current progress is 15% towards the goal, and we have 27% pledged.
It's probably diving in a bit much. And now we have some photos with the. Can we skip this? I'm not sure. So on the left, you can see one of our communication workshops. That was the first one we had. Our next one, of course, with the pandemic, we've been impacted a bit on the numbers that can attend. But we have a large number of people for the next round of workshops. You can see our one of our fire pits where we're getting together and roasting marshmallows. Of course, that's actually a couple of months ago. We've done a bit of work since then to continue to enhance. We regularly have workshops out on the land where we're enhancing them. Okay, I need to switch back. There we go. We're out there enjoying the land with the hammocks, the sunsets. The dogs love it out there. You can see our dogs in the bottom right, Elmo and Munchie, with their little doghouse out on the land. And just being out there with Ren, showing them the land, talking about the vision, looking at it's amazing out there. It's a huge, big sky, and the wilderness it's just phenomenal. We've been doing some initial construction. So we've in the parking area, a combination shed, storage, office, water cistern. So this will enable us to move forward with the next steps in the project, providing us a project management office, somewhere to store tools and equipment, and also a 15,000 litre water cistern, which enables us to provide additional water to the native plants. The plants that are already growing there, of course, they don't really need any additional water. But the more water we give them, the better they're going to grow. And with the plants that are regenerating at the moment, that's just going to help enhance the ecosystem. The resources, we've reused the resources on site. So all of the soil we excavate, the topsoil on the right, we're putting to use in garden beds. The subsoil, which is a lot more barren, we're using for establishing holding ponds so that when the rains do come, we're slowing down the movement of the water across the land so it can be put to use, so it can absorb into the ground to enhance the ecosystem. And the dead wood from when previous fires have come through the area, and where we've cleared the grass and that, we're creating piles of that material, breaking it down so that we can enhance the organic material in the soil.
Can you show us on the map where that is exactly? Like where you're creating these water holding channels?
Yeah, here it is. Let's see if that's working. Yep. So I actually need to update this because I do have an updated map which has more detail on where the holding ponds are. So the biopool is the principal body of water. But can you see my mouse pointer?
Yes, we can.
Yep. Okay. So where the mouse pointer is there to the southwest of the Palapa, there's also an area in there that has a fairly extensive depression in the ground, which we'll be using to catch and hold water. Another area next to the fire pit. So there's an area there. And there's actually a little depression running across in front of the common house past the Palapa, which joins up with this area here. Also, where the tunnel house is currently shown, that is actually a designated water holding area, which will be adjacent to where the garden area is. So there are various areas throughout the community where the natural water flow that already exists will be enhanced to slow down the water so that we can catch it, hold it, absorb it, and use it for irrigation, of course. It's easier. So part of the regeneration, because this area was previously used for extensive grazing, it has been cleared in the past. There are established trees and large cacti in the area, but the large amount of grass would make it vulnerable to fire. So part of regeneration is protection. So the first things we were doing was clearing fire breaks and paths within the community and also around the boundary so that if a fire is coming up the valley, it's not going to spread into Habori and damage the local ecosystem that we are working to regenerate. There's also a local aerophyte, a plant that grows using the air, that does infest the native trees, especially the mesquite and the name escapes me. What's the other one? There's another tree that looks similar until you get close to it. But both of those trees are particularly prone to this organism, and what it does is it clogs up the tree and effectively suffocates it. So it's a bit of a plague. which is why I'm in the upper branches of that tree in the middle photo. We're clearing out the dead wood where the tree has been suffocated, clearing out the paxley so it doesn't continue to spread. And then the tree is able to receive light and air and is able to grow better in the future. So on the left here, you can see we've done a lot of work clearing the grass to mitigate the fire risk while leaving the native shrubbery intact. So, of course, we have cleared the shrubs where we have paths to get through. And also we'll be clearing them where the houses will actually be built. But it's going to be very specific. And where we encounter special plants, on the right there next to the glove is a local cactus called a bisnaga, which are relatively uncommon in the region, but are very beautiful and very special. And where we find these sorts of special plants, ideally we're preserving them in situ. But if that's conflicting with the ability to build the community, we are relocating them to preserve them and keep them because they are special and valued for us. In the middle, you can see a bit of the mineralogy of the area. Here in San Miguel, the region has a lot of rose quartz underlying it. The region's quite famous for it. So there's a big chunk of rose quartz mixed in with a bunch of other stuff. On the left, it's actually a piece of fossilized coral because this used to be a shallow seabed millions of years ago before it was lifted over a mile into the air. So we do have a lot of fossilized coral here as well.
Beautiful.
We've got some additional detail around our, actually this will tell me, around our training, our vision and values, and some of the analysis and stuff. But we'd just like to break here and give you guys the opportunity to ask us some questions instead of just talking at you.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, so thank you for the presentation. Really great. Your project is really beautiful to see how methodical and precise you guys are, and making this an easy to follow process for others that are excited to have a good role model in this process. So today specifically, I'm going to send you a link right now. We are essentially focused on the process of turning your idea into a high-level plan. So I'd like to put you guys back into that frame of mind when you guys had this idea originally. What were some things that you were like maybe a little bit scared of? You were getting involved with it. What were some things you did to say, okay, let's break this into bite-sized chunks and let's start making this reality? If you guys could flash back to that moment, like, okay, you're looking at each other and you're like, all right, let's build communities around the world. Or let's build our first community and then maybe it expanded. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the framework that we use for this is actually derived from a military planning process, which is it's actually a values-driven process. So it consists of taking your initial idea, taking a step back, and having a consideration of what are the values underpinning what it is you want to do. Because whenever you have a first idea, is that first idea what you actually want to achieve? And so that's where the values-driven approach comes into it, is taking a step back from your first idea to look at the underlying values, to then use those values to determine what are the things we actually want to achieve, and then to move on to the how do we achieve it. And so for us, the process consisted of the first idea of let's build eco-communities, to take that step back and look at the values. And because we wanted to build communities, a big part of that was to bring people together, and people we knew and people who we knew had similar values, and to actually make that explicit and talk about what does this mean? What are the values that we're aspiring to? And then take that group of values, shake it a bit, refine it a bit, and then use that to determine what are our actual objectives. And then from the objectives, you can break that down into how do I achieve each objective? What are the things that contribute to that? And what are the needs that we're trying to meet? And that's actually one of the good synergies with the communication training, is because traditionally Westerners aren't very good at recognizing needs. We're not very good at communicating our needs. And so bringing that into a conscious process and learning the language and the means of communicating that means that we can actually define them. We can write them down and make them explicit. And once you have them written down, and this is an important part of the process, once you have those needs and those objectives written down, it becomes very easy to look at what are the tasks that contribute to those, what are the timelines that we need to consider, and what are the activities, and how do we divide them up? Who are the experts we call on to achieve the individual tasks?
Okay, nice. So I shared a link. You guys can go into it, or I can just read a few of the points off for today's topic, which is.
I have I have a question too. Ooh, this is intense.
You can ask from here. Yeah. And so today, right, the topic is nurturing your idea into a high-level plan and finding your first tribe members. So we started. Go ahead, Julie.
Thank you guys so much for sharing. That was really inspiring. I'm wondering how you found inspiration outside of your own circle. Like, did you connect with other communities, like Lyme communities or communities of community creators? Where did you find resources online? That would be really interesting to hear from you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, so we actually did a road trip. So there's a website for intentional communities. We looked on there, we found other examples of intentional communities within the region, the wider region, and looking at some of the construction options for building more sustainable housing. And Paula and I, we did a road trip and we visited these people, and we visited some businesses and some of the existing communities to look at what they were doing. Because we weren't necessarily going to do this all ourselves. We were also looking at, is someone already doing this who is aligned with what we want to do and is in a location where we want to join them? And although we didn't find someone else to join, we did have very productive discussions, especially around some of the challenges and issues that people had encountered. Which it's easier to learn from the mistakes of others than it is to go through that process yourself. And there are some great resources online. The Intentional Communities website has some very good material. So that's ic.org. And we're listed on there, and we've had interested people contact us through that, and we've got some coming and joining our workshops. We've already had some come out and see the land and getting involved through that process. So there are already a lot of good resources out there. One of the big things for the more practical community elements is Pinterest. Go on Pinterest, start a board, and just start tagging things that inspire you and the elements that you want to replicate in your community. Because those elements and sharing those elements and what resonates for you with your other community members means you can collaboratively combine those to produce the community of your dreams.
Cool. All right, beautiful. Yeah, so actually perfect segue, Julia. Our first point, how much time do you guys have, by the way? How are you looking? Like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes?
1 hour.
Okay, cool. So, okay, beautiful. On this document that I shared, right, the process of nurturing your idea to a high-level plan and finding your first tribe members, the first step was finding information about other communities. IC.org is one of the first ones that we put on here. They have a great directory of communities that exist, some that don't exist anymore, but it's a good starting point for sure. Another website we found was ecovillage.org, which again is a directory of other eco-villages. This one's, I think, European-based. I just added Pinterest to that. Our next point on this journey, right, after looking at examples, is to define what we are seeking to have or create ourselves. And the main points on there are the vision, the intention, and the principles and rules of this community. Can you guys share about yours, your vision, your principles? You mentioned it before. If you guys could send us a deck, I would love it, so we could add it to our directory of other decks of other communities. I'd love to add it as well. But yeah, if you could touch on it, that'd be really beautiful.
I actually have it here in the slideshow, so I can throw that back up.
Mm-hmm.
You want to, you got it.
There we go. So here we have the higher level. So this is actually backwards to the process for developing it. Actually, let's do it in the process order. What we started with was defining the values. So here we have the values divided up into the social values and the environmental values. And so with our initial workshops, before we were looking at specific land or anything like that, we started with these high-level ideas. And the process for this, we actually took from, there's some books. I have the links. I'll put them onto the Discord.
Yeah.
But there are a number of books that we were doing research on what's the best practice, because co-housing is not a new thing. It's been around for many decades, and there are processes that are proven to work and processes that are not so proven. So we wanted to work from the best process, and one of the things that became very clear from discussions with other people who've had co-housing and from the podcasts and the webinars and all of the rest is that the vision and the values is important, and to write it down so everybody has that explicit understanding. So we started with our values, and we had workshops. We had 2 workshops with different groups of people, a potluck meal on the roof, here at our own home, in discussing all of this with the people who came. And having a potluck meal, I felt, was a very good way to get the right kind of people as well, because the kind of people who are going to come and contribute to a potluck to talk about this sort of thing are exactly the kind of people you're going to want involved in discussing this sort of community. It's also one of the things with the communication workshops is it's interesting how many people are interested in a eco-village, but when you mention that everyone has to do mandatory communication training to learn how to get along, there's a few people taking a step back, which is fine. They're probably not the right people for our community. But the people who want to engage in that sort of process, they're the people we want to engage in the process. So we start with the vision and values. We start with the values. We take those values and we look at how those come together and align to give us our objectives. They're in the bottom left. So social and inclusive community through co-housing principles. Building sustainable housing affordably, rapidly, and efficiently. Water conservation and efficiency. And contribute to ecosystem restoration both on-site and throughout the region. Because one of the values is doing that outreach to the wider communities. That links in with our vision of living sustainably, socially, and affordably, enhancing the lifestyle and wellness of our community members and of our neighbouring communities, and learning to live together as a community, trusting, respecting, and sharing. And then the mission is to establish an efficient yet affordable, comfortable eco-village as a pathfinder that demonstrates a successful co-housing community, inspiring members to live more mindful, enriched, and low-impact lives while restoring the native ecosystem. And these are things that within our community, within the common house, this will be on the wall in the common house, because whenever we're making decisions, we need to be referring back to, is this in alignment with our vision and our values? We're not going to have a go-kart course or a golf course or anything like that in our communities because it's not in alignment with the vision.
Right. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So this kind of leads to the next question along the vision, mission, principles. Goals for the community. Obviously, you in proper practice, you start small and you iterate into bigger projects. I see you guys already have the intention of growing the size for the next community. Do you have an ideal size for number of people that you would want to live in the community? In our research, we've discovered this, what's the guy's number? Dunbar? Forgot his name. Yeah, the Dunbar number or principle of 150 people, more or less. Something you guys have taken into account, or do you have a specific size?
Yes, so from our research with co-housing communities, the ideal number for a co-housing community, because it is a lot more compact, is more around 50.
50, okay.
Around 20 households is kind of the optimum number for maintaining those more intimate social relationships with your neighbours.
Right.
And ideally having, and this is a model that's widely used in the US, there are some good examples, is having clusters of co-housing communities. So you have like pods of communities that are adjacent each other. So you do have that wider community that provides additional support and security and relations, and you can do some specialization and some commerce even. But for that tighter community element where you're sharing common spaces, especially kitchens, living areas, things like that, is if you have too many people, you start to run into the tragedy of the commons. If you have too many people sharing a kitchen, there's going to be people who aren't cleaning up after themselves properly. Whereas if you have smaller numbers, it's easier to hold people to account, and it's easier to have those valued relationships that mean you can hold them to account without it becoming conflict.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, beautiful. And this question comes in the train of thought of John-Luc posed this question in one of our conversations. Like, will this community be an open community where others are invited to come and visit? Like, obviously, you have housing or guests that come. Also, in a lot of communities, people grow their own food or as much food as they can. Will you guys be growing food? And will you require an extra labor force to come and support with the food growth? Or will you hold the community? Will you expect them to contribute some energy and manpower to this process?
So just to recap, there's food production, outreach, and the open community thing.
I mean, I think it essentially comes down to the same point, is the community. And I think we touched on this topic yesterday, and I was very interested to see how you're gonna address it today. I didn't want to start a whole discussion yesterday when we were talking on WhatsApp, because I wanted you to share it with the community here. So the open or the closed community, would you be sustainable with resources of people as well? So would you expect the people within the community to kind of fulfill all the needs of the community, or are you more open to outsource? And also open, closed, are you open for people coming in as guests as well?
Okay, so for the first thing, so with the values around outreach and uplift of the local communities, and for being an exemplar of this type of community, is of course we need to be open, we need to bring people in, we need to show them what we're doing. The guest house is a part of that, but also for doing the workshops, and then community members who teaching quantum flow workshops or yoga workshops or that sort of thing also expands the number of people whose lives we're contacting, so that we can share this way of life and this experience. So we're very much in that regard an open community. So that is important for our values of outreach and uplift.
And we will also be hiring a couple of people, at least in the beginning, to help, like local people, to help with the upkeep and the maintenance of the fields and the food gardens, and maybe someone that can help us with cleaning the common house and keeping the common house looking nice all the time. So yes, we also want to contribute to the wider community.
Right, this was kind of the question, right? This was the question, because
it's the second part, because these three parts. It's a three-part question. So yes, so the second part. So for members to be involved and engaged, of course, is essential. And we have got people who are very keen to be involved in the gardening or with keeping bees, or with the more social elements, with running workshops and things like that. It really depends on the specific interests of individuals. Not everyone wants to be getting their hands dirty in the garden. And some of us love that. So for the labour within the community, it'll be a mix of both people within the community providing labour and doing work, and then also people in the wider community providing those employment opportunities. And we already have a start with that. The custodian for the wider community, his name's Leno, and I've worked with him numerous days. We've been working together on doing work on the land, clearing the fire breaks, doing things like that. So not just community member involvement in doing work on the land, but also bringing in people and teaching them about these are the plants we value and things like that. And Leno actually has a wealth of knowledge about the local plants, and he's taught me a lot. But then with our permaculture expert, we're inviting him along as a half day's a paid day. So we're going to pay him to come to the workshop to learn with our permaculture expert, to expand his knowledge, because he's an important part of the community as well. He works with us. He's the principal custodian and for looking after things. So teaching him and uplifting him is an important element in that. For the food production, yes, we want to do some food production within the community. We want to have the gardens will be part of our water reuse plan. I think you're muted. Someone's muted.
Yes.
So for the food production, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Testing. Hello.
Mike.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you again.
Yes, you guys are on.
You're saying the permaculturist, that your local knows the local species, and your permaculturist has been kind of helping you blend all that together?
Yeah, and we want to educate the people who we're working with on the land on the importance of the plants we have and the permaculture elements as well. So we're paying the custodian to come to the workshop to enhance his own education on these elements.
Beautiful, beautiful. Nice.
For the food production, yes, we'll be doing food production on site with the water systems that we're doing with the reclamation and reuse. So the final stage of the water use is that water gets reused for the orchard, for the irrigation and for things like that, and using water from the holding ponds as well. We're having to do over-the-top irrigation. Because the water that we gain from the biodigester from processing the black water is grey water and is suitable for irrigation, but it's not something you want to be spraying on top of lettuce or broccoli or anything. Right. It's better for in-ground irrigation or for irrigating trees.
Okay, nice.
But we do have the holding ponds for fresh over the top.
Cool.
And we're actually meeting this morning with a woman who's interested in joining the community who her business is in aeroponics with the tower systems that I'm sure many people here today are familiar with. And having those sorts of systems as well in the community where we can efficiently use water to grow crops with efficient use of space is also important. But then within the wider community, there is a lot of farming in the region, and there are a lot of local producers. And there are local vegetable trucks that go around the communities and sell local produce locally.
Oh, that's nice.
So we would want to support them for the things we aren't growing ourselves.
Yeah, partnerships with local farms is like one of the stronger strategies that we've seen. You let them focus on their magic, and you guys have a good partnership together. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Because they have the space to be able to do it in a more efficient manner. Growing food for 14 households does require a relatively large amount of area, especially for specific things. So partnering with local producers on that is it's key, essential.
Right. Okay, beautiful.
The third part of your question, I've forgotten. What's the third part?
I think that was kind of it. Like, we were asking if, one topic came up: is it an open or a closed community where people can come in and visit or not? And so, obviously, people will be visiting.
What I would like to stress here is because we are on a high level aspect, is that a lot of people that we meet have the intention and the motivation and the why as they want to create a community is because they assume that bad things will happen in the world. Like, the future of where we're going can be quite bumpy. That's why they assume that, okay, the community might one day be closed, and we need to be sustainable with resources, and we need to be mindful of our own space, and maybe sometimes we'll be closed for outsourcing. That's why the question popped up. We see this trend in some communities, but obviously your model is a little bit different. And it also touches the number of the people, right? You really need 150 people is more realistic to be sustainable within the community. But for 50 people, not really realistic to have all the people that you need to be close, right?
Right, like everything. We're including here topics of like clothing and textile, electricians, plumbers. Like it's hard to fit all those roles with just 20 households.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the direction of where that question was going, as we're figuring out from a high level what is an ideal number to shoot for, and it really depends on your strategies. So thank you for sharing that.
And I would like to just say, because I feel like we are just here with the microphone power, and we are kind of we don't want to exclude people that are here also for the open discussion. We have a friend here who wants to start a community. So anybody wants to say something, ask a question, feel free to do so. Maybe comment here or the microphone in a different laptop. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, guys, any questions? Anybody? Yeah, please.
I think, like you might have mentioned it, but how long have you been working on the project? Like, in a tangible manner that you've been focused on it, and when do you think of starting it, or has it already been started?
So we started thinking about it 3 years ago, and the more practical progress has really been in the last year. So we started thinking about 3 years ago. In the last year, we've been having those more tangible actions with having the workshops and things like that. But in the first couple of years, it was a lot of reading, a lot of research. I've been picking up various certifications that support where my strengths lie in developing this sort of community, and building those contacts with other people that have specific skill sets that we're going to need to bring in as partners, like our permaculture expert, our communications trainer, all of those sorts of things. In terms of the actually breaking ground, that's only been happening in the last 2 months, 3 months, is locating the land, doing the initial contract for the land, and starting to do the preparation. And then in the last month, we've broken ground and we've been building that first structure. And
Nice.
then that first structure is a gateway to building the others.
Very good. Thank you. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Paul. Hi, Julia. And tell Oscar hi and hello, RegenTribe. Actually, very, very inspiring and a great presentation to start off with. I was actually really curious as to maybe you covered it and I came in late, but the governance of how you were going to be either including, excluding, and how that process actually flows. Because as you know, people could get rubbed off the wrong way, and Westerners are very not, so I kind of wanted to understand in what dynamic way will you be managing, I wouldn't want to call them bad actors, but people who are not with the flow, and how that works.
Yep. So for that, plagiarism saves time. We've looked at successful co-housing communities and what their processes are. And so we've been able to take those elements and with the background research and the case studies, and there have been some international co-housing communities that have been generous enough to share their processes and their governance and their rules, or whatever word you want to use instead of rules, their principles, their ideals, with the rest of the world. And so we've been able to lean on that to put together a starting set of, here's some ideas, here's some processes, here's some thinking, and then using the principles of nonviolent communication and collaborative decision-making to go through those and refine and tailor it to our specific needs. And there's things like the 7 areas of respect, the 7 areas of responsibility, which are great concepts that resonate very strongly. And along with our vision and values, that provides a strong basis for deciding what our specific governance and process will be. And we're still in the process of discussing all of that.
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just, I'm more, I guess, how rigid or how malleable is this concept? Like, as in, people come in, they're going to be contributing not only, I guess and us Westerners only thinking about us, the Constitution, right? So you have these fundamental rules, and then, you have laws, but is this going to be as rigid, or is it going to be ever malleable? Or we, ripping things out, putting things in? I know this is a very specific question. I'm just really interested in how this functions.
So the idea here is the vision and values is fairly rigid. We're in the process of, think of it like concrete. We're in the process of curing it.
Okay, understood.
So we haven't all agreed to it and finalized it yet. We're still having some side discussions, but we do have a plan that it will become rigid because that's our foundation. And then what we build on the foundation, we can modify that. We can see what's working, what isn't working, because the important thing is the tools, the communication tools, the collaboration tools. So if we find certain things aren't working, we can use those tools to discuss and engage and collaborate on making them work for us.
Very great. Thank you for that.
It's beautiful that you asked this question, because it's very important. We will cover this topic more detailed in workshops in a couple of weeks. Today is the first workshop, and it's high level plan, but then we will have ecosystem, and we cover different models of governance. We will have different speakers. Hopefully Mike and Paula will be also with us, if not in person, then digitally, because we will be streaming every week.
Yeah. So along that line, in the document, we outlined the last 2 questions or like topics we wanted to share were one, like forward-facing material. Once you've grounded your idea into your high-level plan, it's very important to be able to easily share your vision with others. That deck presentation you showed us was really beautiful. If you guys are open to it, I'd love for you guys to send it to us so we can add it to our repository of decks. And once we finish the call, we're actually going to sit here and discuss a few of these topics here in the group. You guys are welcome to stay as well and give us some feedback if you have time for it. So yeah, forward-facing documents is that. We would love to send the deck so we can go through it. And the last topic was finding your early tribe and bringing them to the project. You touched on how you've started with workshops and small gatherings. Can you share a little more about that? Any other things? You said you went on a road trip. That's an awesome way to do it, to meet others. Any potentially other discords that you've encountered or met, or WhatsApp groups or Facebook groups, anything like this that you guys have met other like-minded humans interested in communities and maybe brought some of them into your project?
Yeah, so one of the big things here in Mexico, there is the co-housing, co-living Facebook group, which has over 1,000 members. It's not particularly active at the moment. I am an administrator on that, and I would love some more help, because I am...
Is this a
I'm pretty full up in capacity. Sorry?
Is this a Facebook group you started or you're a part of?
No, it's a Facebook group that another woman, her name is Jan, started. And she was trying to get her own co-housing community up and running as well. And she's had some struggles along the way. I won't get into the details on that, but she did a great job of starting to bring together a community. But as you're aware, to maintain momentum, it does require a lot of engagement, and the Facebook algorithm is not great at letting such groups be present in the discussion without spending money.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, also Facebook and word of mouth. Like we just started posting things about our vision and our dream. And for example, we initially had a piece of land that was on the way to Querétaro, and we thought it was the perfect spot for it, for a project. And I just posted something on Facebook saying we're doing this. And then a friend of mine, she was like, oh, we're actually doing something similar in another piece of land. Why don't you come and meet with the organizers of this community? And we're like, okay. So we went and we met them, and we like resonated. And eventually, long story short, they are the people that we are doing the community with. Just by posting something on Facebook, I really believe that if you start sharing the message of what you want to do, the right people that resonate with the project will come to you, or they will tell their friends about it. They are like, oh, I have my sister-in-law that she would love this kind of project, and then eventually, if it's meant to be, you start attracting the people, and the universe just puts you together, like the universe put us together.
Like this, right?
Yeah, sharing the same thing.
And so that's very much the intention of these series of workshops, and bringing people together, creating the space and holding the space for us to share ideas, and very much the importance of getting the content recorded and broadcasting it, so others can find us, others can tune into the conversation, be inspired, ask questions, and potentially join the projects or start a project of their own and find the support they need.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, guys. Well, that's pretty much all the questions I had. We have like 7 minutes left on this call. I don't mind opening a new one if you guys are up for it. We're gonna kind of do like a together exercise after, where we go through the topics and then we go over a few of the links. If you guys would like to join, we can set up another call and put the computer with us. Is there anything else you guys would like to share in the last couple of minutes of this call?
I'd just like to restate again the importance of values.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
The values help define the rest of the process, and they also help resonate with the people that you want to include in your community, because the people that resonate with your values are the people you're going to want in your community, and the people that don't resonate, there's probably something else for them.
Right. Yep. Couldn't agree more. Cool. Does anyone have any other questions? Any other things you'd like to share around? Cool. No. All right. Well, guys, super grateful for the presentation and you guys sharing everything. We will be doing workshops every week for the next couple of months. Actually, it's workshops that we've planned out. I shared with you guys the outline for each one of the topics, some of the questions we'll be asking for each. Potentially in future workshops, you guys could tune in and do like a short call where you share like maybe the experiences on that topic or anything else as your project's evolving. It'd be nice to keep track of it. And at the same time, this is our personal mission of RegenTribe, is to connect with the amazing people doing these amazing things and share something that we enjoy doing, like creating content, like broadcasting, and creating a community around different ideas, like Hapori and generally regenerative communities. So thank you guys for joining and being here and for what you're doing. We're excited to come and visit, which we definitely are. We were in Guanajuato recently and we realized how close we were to you guys. Next time that we're heading out
it's
there,
crazy.
we're definitely coming.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think you muted.
We go.
Okay.
Yeah, just let us know whenever you guys want to come visit, and we'll be happy to host you here.
Cool, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Enjoy it. Keep going, you guys. Ooh, your mic's on, Jules.
Nice meeting you all.
Yeah, likewise.
You guys are so beautiful.
So we're going to continue this workshop here in person with everyone. We're going to send another link in the Discord. If anyone wants to tune in, that's on the call. Feel free. We're going to take the things that Mike and Pao shared with us and start applying them to our community that we'll be co-creating here as a workshop series. So thank you guys, and we'll share the link on the Discord and the RegenTribe WhatsApp.
And I'll post the PDFs. I'll put the new map in the presentation, and I'll put it on the Discord and the Hapori channel.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
We also have a binder that I've just updated that we present to people when they come out to the land to show them the ideas, the concepts, all of that. So the binder has got some really good stuff, including some of the discussion of the eco-technologies and things. So I'll put them both on the Discord very shortly.
Amazing. Beautiful. Yeah, guys. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for being here. We'll share another link in a minute, and you guys can tune into the in-person workshop as well.
See you.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
I'm going to do a short intro real quick. All right. So, guys, welcome back. We are
didn't
here.
introduce himself yet.
I'm just going to do a quick intro and we can continue. We are tuning in here to the live portion of the co-creation of regenerative community workshops. Everyone's done a quick intro, and we will just be talking about some of the points that are in the Google Doc, which you can see the link below. And everyone, keep going. We were just talking about metaverse and topics like this, and we'll be having a conversation about turning your idea into a high-level plan and attracting your initial tribe members.
¿Te gustaría hacerlo de frente a la cámara en vez de espaldas? Pasarte enfrente a la
I can
cámara
turn over here.
para no estar de espaldas.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, before we move on from Jean-Luc,
Yeah,
I want to
we'll
say, like in the offline world, with all the work you're doing and this beautiful space that you've been creating over so many years, right? You are enabling all of us to come together and connect and create community, and this is such amazing work. And thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
For hosting
We still
us
have a
here.
lot of work to go.
Now connecting the
We're
dots.
going.
I'm bad.
It's only been a couple of months and we're moving. Yeah, so, yeah, go ahead. Cool.
Connect with
Yeah, we're in, man. We're connected.
I'll be back.
So, Ollie, I sent a link to the Google Doc, so you guys have it as well. So, in this Google Doc...
Nate hasn't...
Oh, yeah, Nate, go ahead, sorry.
Hey, I'm Nate.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of everything, but I love working with lighting, lighting systems, artistic lighting systems, residential lighting, LED colored programming. I'm visuals as well. I do DJing. I have a computer science background, so I'm dabbling in crypto and things like that. I lived here on site for over 6 months. Really appreciate the community that Jean-Luc's facilitating to come together here. And I don't know, I kind of like you guys, so it feels like a tribe, right? So
We kinda like
that's
you
why
too.
I'm here.
All mock-ups. And because we had like a big center that we started to modelize, I went to this startup and I say, I want that you video game, I want that it happens in my building. So, well, for me, it was like a kind of to help people understand what is BIM, because it's a little bit complex for people that doesn't build things. And now, 6 years later, we have piece of land, we do things, and at the same time, Facebook's go on with like metaverse and everything. And a couple of weeks ago, I talked to a development team on blockchain, and they're developing games also. And then we say, okay, what would be the fact to take like a game, like, for example, I'm quite impressed by Decentraland, stuff like that. But instead of actually inventing things on the metaverse, we create a little metaverse with the goal to be exactly similar and synchronized with a real piece of land and with a real village. So that's the goal. That's the goal. So you start playing, like playing The Sims. You say, okay, I take this piece, you design it, I want to put this house. So when you do it, it's a kind of a project, basically, because you are in another, but, on the real time, we have the map, we've creating so people start playing, and at one point, if we want to happen, the question would be to synchronize it.
Right.
So the guy makes something, and at one point, on the land, we do the same thing.
Yeah.
And right now, it would be just getting the plans, because we would have to do a lot of architectonic everything. But probably in 3 years, 5 years, with the 3D machines, whatever, at one point, when you push a button on your metaverse, you build it, $1.676, and you have a lot of people that will work, and you will go there and you will find the house you've designed. Why not? Why not?
3 years, I think it's less.
This is just the concept of creating a better interface to a program.
Yeah.
Because honestly, because the metaverse now, people, they do, why Facebook is doing that? Because the brands really think, and they know that, the other guy that buy like, $3 million a piece of land to make a store on the metaverse, they do that because the people, unfortunately, our young people, so, they would go in the metaverse to buy a pair of Nike.
Right.
Why you go Amazon? It's not nice. Yeah, it's efficient to buy a pair of Nike.
Right.
But when you have this life and everything, and you go in the store and you say, wow, Nike, and when you go in the store before the woman that come, what do you want? You say, no, I want her black, I want her big, I want her big tits, and then, wow, he's gonna buy the pair of Nike and get his credit card like this.
Right.
The next day, he got it here. So there is still now at the level of commercial and money, which is the gasolina of the world right now.
I also feel like the metaverse is like years later than multiple other metaverses that are already in existence. Cryptovoxels, Decentraland, Neos.
The thing is, we are all already in the metaverse. Like, from the moment we wake up and we grab our phone, you're in the metaverse. And you get on your computer at work, you're in your car listening to SoundCloud, you're in the metaverse, in all of these scenes. What's happening now is they're just making a new graphic user interface for it, where you can be immersed, where you're not just on Amazon clicking a screen, you're actually in a store looking at shoes and picking stuff.
Yeah, but you're right, that the metaverse, the new metaverse, whatever.
Yeah, I would like to see how BIM ties in with programs like Blender, which is open source 3D modeling, because in Neos, at neos.com, you can create your own metaverse, no problem, drag and dropping Blender files into it.
Sick.
The BIM files, it's called objects in the BIM objects. So now if you actually are an architect, but you use
I worked in architect studio, and we built Terminal 4 of Azure, and BIM system.
Azure?
Yes.
Empresa francesa, French venture.
Azure is the data port.
Yeah,
The new wing of the airport.
No, the Cancun.
Yes, Cancun. The model first, and then the information, the beam information, was used to construct the terminal. Yeah. So when we have the walkthroughs in an iPad or on a computer, I thought that it was a video game.
Exactly, exactly.
That you could put on a VR set, right, and walk through. Yeah. You could put on.
Well, actually, now in the next 3 years, I think we still have within 2 or 3 years in France, any public building will have to have a digital mock-up in the cloud, totally synchronized with the real building, for sure. So when the building burned, for example, the firemen, they put their helmet connected to the building, and it's full. They don't see anything. But they can run in the building. They know when they double click with the eyes like this, and they say this wall is 25 centimeters that. It's a break the fire. It's a brick. So when they see a door, they do like boom. They see the other way exactly what it is, in order to save lives and everything. That's why the beam that started to be for building, like for design. It was started to be for design because it came from Autodesk and the people that were working like design and drawings. But immediately we see that it was that suddenly, if you can allow everybody, like when we discovered, like with the first Google Drive, you are in a text and you have like 5 people that are inside the same text and modify it. Imagine like a building when you have the plumbers, the electricians, the architect. They're all together on a model, and they say, okay, now we change this wall, we move this wall, boom. It recalculates everything. It recalculates the structure. Now we have to change a beam. We have to modify the beam here. And then it goes on the budget, recalculate, and you add 1.7 tons of cement. And I mean, it's...
So in the villages that we're helping do in syntropic farming, every plant that's being planted is being GPS tracked.
Yeah.
So that we can also recreate it in the metaverse and know exactly where everything is and show a long-term, long-term to the local government of like, hey, look what happened in the last 3 years instead of this short window to show that the migratory birds came, et cetera, and to integrate and work with the governments to get funding to protect lands that maybe they come look at for a week. And they're like, nothing's here, it doesn't matter. But if they would have came,
5 years later.
3 months later and saw that it's actually a landing pad for a lot of migratory birds that come between 2 different places, and by putting a development there, they just ruined a bunch of stuff. I think all this is...
No, I just think when I started, this Palapa has 15 years. I built it 15 years ago. 15 years. When I built it, I started to design it like that. I'm not a designer at all, but, for sure, I wanted a big palapa, and I didn't want any pillar in the middle, which was because, and just the guys, the Mayan that make palapa, I say, okay, if you want a palapa like this, you will have to have trees of 25 meters in one, etc. And that I have no idea, because here in the peninsula, you cannot find trees like that. So, and I thought it would be impossible to bring a tree like that from Chiapas or whatever it came. When I saw the trucks arriving here with this tree, I said, gee, this Mexican guy, they're really...
They always do it, no matter what.
Yeah. And we built this without a crane, Without a crane. It was all by hand.
No, there's a way.
How did you do that? How did they do it?
It's like, I have to dig some pictures. I have just found new pictures with the guys, from the truck bringing this tree. This one?
Yeah.
Like, there were 30 guys like this on the shoulder.
Right, Egyptian.
Egypt. Egypt pyramid.
Okay, so
it was fun. So this question about building metaverse, it has to do something with ground in a community on the land, right? And I was just saying that 7 years ago, when we were working with designers and architects on this lab of BIM, because actually architects, they didn't know a lot of technology, and it took a long time to bring the architects into the digital world. And at that point, when 8 years ago, I was talking like this parallel between digital modeling and real life for people that actually were in a process of making a building, and you had to synchronize, all the different guys that works. I mean, it was like, because I was like a pioneer of the internet, the people, they say, this guy is nuts. This guy, they would look at me.
In tech before it was
15
cool.
years ago.
Legend.
No, the same thing. When architect, I remember the first, you would say to an architect 20 years ago that he will use,
iPad.
The Autodesk.
Pues
no, and how the architect are. No, tienes un ego de arquitecta. Because the architect, my obra.
Yes, it was working.
5 years from now, they'll be like, what do you mean drafting table?
Right.
What's that?
Yeah.
All right, well, it's 3:30 now, and we covered the topics. I don't know if anyone opened the doc, but if anyone has any questions about any of these topics, I'd love to maybe discuss any more of the topics. If not, I think we'll just leave the floor open for everyone to network a little bit. I would love to talk to you, Ali, about some ideas. Tommy as well. I want to kind of chat a bit about some things.
Yeah, we collected a whole bunch of links and information inside the stock that is shared in the chat. With all our documents, feel free to co-create it, right? Like if you have anything to share, any docs, any links, anything that comes to your mind, please just add it. And other than that, there's a bunch of really good information, community, co-created, if you want to dive deeper in any of the topics that we have discussed today.
Yeah, links are in the Google Doc. So again, the intention of these days are to come together, co-share ideas, and conceptually turn a piece of barren land into the full spectrum of an idea, a master plan, and all the components it takes to build that master plan. So at the end of our 11-week cohort, we have a pitch deck to present for a potential future community that we will be working on. We'll be sharing kind of like the homework assignments for this week's topic in the Discord for what we need to identify. Like, what are our intentions? If everyone can share one intention, those will be the intentions of the community. Same with a couple of the other topics that we shared here. So everyone stay tuned on the Discord. I'm happy everybody came today and everyone was here to witness this process of holding this space for people to share what it looks like to create a community. Because it's definitely a challenge. Just like John Luke said.
The group is having fun, huh?
Yeah, they're getting it. Just how John Luke said, it's right. Any one component of what it takes to build a community, you could have 50 people working on it for years and still not get it perfect.
That's why you have to have some people having fun.
Right.
Some people.
It's a good reminder to celebrate too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Week 11, we pitch it and we celebrate. But we can
They do this retreat is very interesting because it's a trainer retreat for breath work. So they're all teachers and they get trained, and so they are super serious. They work and they are all like special because to become like a trainer for breath work, it's not everybody. So during all day they work, they're so concentrated, and at one point when it's decided that they release the thing, it's
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, we'll be incorporating during the workshops as well. Like at the end of the workshop, we'll have like some social networking time, and then a few times I'd like to do like an ecstatic dance maybe when it's like empty or we have space.
find something else.
Yeah, I don't know, something fun, something like
No, dance. Definitely dance.
definitely dance, right? We can funk dance.
I mean,
I will. Where we groove. We have. I mean, the groove was amazing. It was just.
We just want to see you dancing, Jean-Luc.
Huh?
That's why we want to hold all of the ecstatic dances here to see you dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything against ecstatic dance. It's just that cacao and ecstatic, I'm like, fine. Yeah, that's kind. Do it, but breath work, cacao. Yeah.
I'm doing a chocolate chip cookie.
So actually, I did my first.
You can team up with Mike. Mike would love that.
I'm sure you saw. I was on the group yesterday. They were trying to charge $1,200 for a 3-day.
Thank you.
For?
A 3-day tantric workshop.
That's pretty cool.
3 days though.
Yeah,
$1,200. Yeah.
No, I mean we had the opportunity to host a tantric shamanic retreats from the guys that are like a world leader, and he was actually very interesting. It's ISTA, ISTA. They do retreat all over the world. It's very impressive, and it was really nice. They're pro. The thing is that it's new trend.
Creating communities and holding space for everyone to co-create and come up with awesome ideas for the future of living. Regenerative communities.
Oli?